You made me like this. This is your fault. If you hadn't done that, I'd be different.
If we're honest, almost everyone has thought something like that at some point. And sometimes it's not even wrong. People really do hurt us. They say things that stay in our minds for years. They treat us in ways that shape how we see ourselves. Some of those wounds didn't come from strangers. They came from people who were supposed to care. So this isn't about pretending nothing happened. Something did happen, and it mattered. But here's where things quietly shift in a dangerous way. We move from saying, "That hurt me," to saying, "That's why I am the way I am, and I can't change." That's the distortion. That's where pain turns into a prison. Because when we believe everything is someone else's fault, we also believe something else without realizing it. That we have no power. That nothing we do will matter. That we're just reacting to life instead of living it. Psychology calls this an external locus of control. It means your life feels like it's controlled by everything outside of you. People, past events, circumstances. And at first, that can feel comforting. Because if it's not your fault, then you don't have to carry responsibility. But there's a hidden cost. If you don't have responsibility, you also don't have freedom. You're stuck waiting for something outside of you to change before you can change. And that can keep someone in the same place for years. This is where the insight from Viktor Frankl becomes so powerful. Frankl wasn't just a psychologist sitting in an office giving theories. He was someone who survived the Holocaust. He experienced loss, suffering, and conditions most people can't even imagine. And yet, after everything he went through, he wrote something that has impacted millions of people. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." What does that actually mean? It means that no matter what happens to you, no matter how fast your emotions react, there is always a small moment in between. A space. It might feel tiny, almost invisible, but it's there. And inside that space is something powerful. Choice. Not control over what happened, not control over what others did, but control over what you do next, and that changes everything. Because if there is even a moment where you can choose, then you are not completely controlled by your past. You're not just a product of what happened to you. You are also a product of how you respond to it. Think about that in real life. Someone says something that triggers you. Your first instinct might be anger. That feeling comes fast. You didn't choose the feeling. But what you do with it, that's where the space is. Do you explode? Do you shut down? Do you say something you regret? Or do you pause, even for a second, and choose something different? That second is where your future is being shaped. And the more you learn to recognize that space, the more your life begins to change. This doesn't mean it's easy. It's actually very hard, especially if you've been hurt deeply. Especially if blaming others has been your way of making sense of your pain. But blaming, even when it feels justified, can quietly keep you stuck in the very thing you're trying to escape. Because it keeps the focus on what others did, instead of what you can do now. The Bible shows this in a powerful way through the story in the book of Job. Job lost almost everything. His family, his health, his stability. None of it was his fault. And if anyone had a reason to blame, it was him. But when God speaks to Job, he says, "Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me." That might sound intense, but there's something important in it. God isn't saying this is your fault. He's saying you are still responsible for how you respond. Responsibility and fault are not the same thing. You can be hurt by something that wasn't your fault and still be responsible for what you do next. That's not punishment. That's actually where your freedom is. Because if your response belongs to you, then your future isn't locked. It's still being written. So the real question becomes, who have you been giving that power to? A parent? A sibling? A friend? And is holding on to that blame helping you heal or keeping you tied to it? Blame can feel strong. It can feel like you're standing up for yourself. But sometimes it's actually a way of staying in the same place without realizing it. Growth starts when something shifts. When you begin to say, yes, that happened, but it doesn't get to decide who I become. That doesn't erase the past. It doesn't minimize the pain. It just means the past is no longer in charge. And that's where something new begins. You start to notice that space Frankl talked about. You start to catch yourself before reacting. You start to think differently about what you've been through. You start to respond with intention instead of impulse. And slowly, over time, that changes the direction of your life. Not all at once, but step by step. Choice by choice. You're not ignoring what happened. You're just refusing to let it have the final word. And that's where growth and freedom actually begin. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe Sight Kids and Niños con Vision.